The AAA slop is afraid. Stop Killing Games has effectively won. Even if we don't truly get what we were after, at the bare minimum, an absolute uncontested precedent has been set. And that is the fact that the government is probably going to go after gamers even harder because, well, we sometimes can get ourselves slightly organized and things can happen. Obviously, the secret MVP here is Pirate Software in being a delusional lolcow. But whatever.
Yeah, in fact, let's get the important stuff out of the way. It's only a few things. If you're in the EU, you can still contact members of European Parliament to support the Stop Destroying Video Games initiative. And you and people from several other European countries can add a comment to the Digital Fairness Act asking politely if they can add protections from publishers destroying video games you've already paid for. And I guess if you're in the UK, you can still contact members of parliament to support the government petition to stop destroying games there.
Europe, do it. The UK, no one cares about you. Everyone knows that your parliament is not gonna do anything. So if you're in the UK, well, tough luck. You probably can't even watch this video because it's age restricted, or it's evil. Your government has deemed it, and you can't use even a VPN anymore because that's also evil. So the UK can literally sit and do nothing. They are completely gone and dead.
Though I won't lie,
Everyone else needs to do a lot.
the UK situation is a lot iffier. Finally, this one's a shot in the dark, but I've been advised if anyone has connections to the EU Commission, specifically mid level admin workers, that could be very helpful. You can contact me or the official spokesperson. His contact info is on the initiative page. Okay, that's it. Nothing else I'm going to say here really matters much, so if you want to stop watching, that's fine.
Now,
I guess first off, thanks to everyone who's assisted with the Stop Killing Games campaign, or is still helping. It's involved literally.
Pirate Software, you did it. You did it. Okay, I'm just waiting until Pirate tries to claim a second time that he was the one who made all of this happen.
Millions of people at this point. On one hand, I'm really glad we got the help we needed. On the other, I still can't shake the feeling of how stupid this all is. Not people helping, but that we have to fight for any of this to begin with.
True.
The issue of not destroying games that people have already paid for in a business bigger than the film and music industry combined, when the whole thing is entirely preventable, has always struck me as crazy. I still view this like fighting for the right to have plumbing in your home, or to demand that bread you buy shouldn't be filled with sawdust. And no,
I mean, as Europeans, we kind of like, oh, how could that? America. Are you sure your bread is not filled with sawdust?
not just a label telling you that your bread contains sawdust. There is such a thing as minimum standards for many products. So this entire movement has never been a calling for me, and still isn't. It's more like this particular practice has annoyed me way more than the average person, and I just want it to go away so I can spend my time on things I'd rather be doing. However, through dumb luck, I've been in a unique position to attempt to end this practice, and I knew I would feel like a giant hypocrite if I didn't give it my best shot.
I'm not gonna lie, boys. Okay, listen. Ross is like the white Tyler one in head shape. It is what it is. Amazing.
So I guess first, why don't we go over what that shot has looked like and how effective it's been? Let's pull up the old battle plans again. Okay, so here are the original plans, but new options opened up along the way. So here's the updated version. And rather than go over everything, I made a
Wait,
key
what?
showing this.
That's it? Contact the BEUC. What the hell was that even? I don't remember.
State of each attempt.
Okay, so it looks like Britain is gone. Australia. Pointless. Okay, listen. Australia's government is just a group of 100% feminists that 100 feminists, not percent. 100 feminists that are currently somehow controlling Visa and MasterCard, okay? So Australia is just writable off. We have probably better luck in China than Australia at this point.
I'm rating this by two metrics. Did we accomplish what we set out to do, and how effective was that? Well, on the first metric, we've actually done amazing. We have maximized our chances to push back against the issue of games being destroyed on almost every front. That's incredible. I wouldn't have predicted we would have gotten this far. In fact, I'd say the only place we outright failed to launch was Brazil. It was looking promising, but we ran into a wall where the law firm needed more data on how many copies of The Crew were sold in Brazil, and we just weren't able to find it. So, bummer about that, but I think it wasn't the most pivotal
If only there was a company that could have provided that, but I mean, they're not interested in this passing. AAA is absolutely devastated and scared shitless of this. People already cover it. You have probably already heard this, but even before this launch, the fact that it just made it to this far, there has already been the reaction from the AAA gaming world, and they don't like what they see. They're lying again. We're literally at the precipice of the second. These are not loot boxes. We call them surprise game mechanics situation. That's where we are. That's where we are yet again, pretty much. It is gonna be hilarious. And it's gonna probably not happen in America. One of the stupidest things is that America technically has laws that prevent this, even though no one knows what these laws is, but America has it. No one knows what they are, but they have it, I've been told. So, that's kind of a bust.
Country in this either. I think France, Germany, Australia, and the EU as a whole are the heavyweights in this. As long as we get a major market prohibiting game destruction, I think we'll largely win this globally. But what about the second metric, how effective this all was? Well, some were outright failures, some of which were kind of expected, but by and large, we still don't know. All the consumer agencies are still investigating this. The Digital Fairness Act is still accepting comments. Hell, even for the European Citizens Initiative, we still don't know if we actually got enough valid signatures. Though I think we probably did.
Probably.
So as you can see, a whole lot of
what was the last official tally? 40% or 50% more signatures than needed in the first place. That probably is going to be any margin of error possible.
the campaign now involves waiting, and government does not move quickly. But seriously, I think we've done about as well as is humanly possible given the landscape, especially considering that I'm just a friggin' YouTuber. I think all this stuff we've launched are our best shots. I don't see lots of new stuff on the horizon later. I think we either win on at least one of these, or if they all fail, then it's over. Besides the Digital Fairness Act, the only big one I think I still have any influence over is the European Citizens Initiative. However, since the signing period is over, we're entering a phase where things like counter-lobbying and political connections are most...
By the way, imagine how scary this is for the Euro board and pretty much every place, honestly, that has already established control over everything for like tens, if not hundreds of years. And suddenly, first, there's this thing. Stop killing games. It happens out of nowhere. People are up in arms about it. And now we have other things happening. I forgot what actually happened. Before I start this sentence, I swear it was in my head. But there was another thing that just happened. Visa and MasterCard. First gamers do this. After gamers are now currently like blowing up, not in the literal sense, Google, thank you. They're calling non-stop, sending emails and even letters to Visa and MasterCard. At some point, these people are going to be like, wait a minute, we don't control the plebs as hard as we should. That's going to be an interesting place we're going to get to. But, I don't know about you, but I am not Asmongold. I am not okay with just sitting down, getting on my back, and saying, yes, daddy, please give me government-issued ID, or whatever garbage that was. Okay, I'm not okay with the government taking control of my life. Asmongold maybe is. He maybe supports all this garbage and says, oh, we need the government to step in, otherwise it's gonna be bad, because I want it to be like that. No, we're not taking this. Now, we should and we need to fight that.
Most important. And frankly, that is not my department. I know nothing about that. Though some political insiders do, and they're advising the official organizers. I'm not even aware of all their plans, but even if I was, I probably wouldn't say what they're up to. Ever since the
Makes
industry
sense.
took a shot at us with fabricated claims, I've been acting a little.
Dude, these claims, we covered them. If you don't know how bad this almost seems to. Considering it's anonymous, there's actually a chance that Pirate Software was the idiot who did this, because this was just purely brain damaged.
bit like I've been Mirandized. So on some parts of this, I may be very quiet since I know someone is trying to use that against us. If the insiders have requests from me, I'll probably follow them. But this is turning into a game I'm not qualified to play. I am qualified to encourage people to sign a form. That's more within my skill set. I don't have a timetable on the initiative since some of it is out of our control, but it's going to be months down the line before there's a hearing. I probably will be assisting the organizers with notes and talking points for when they go to the EU Commission. Assuming they do. I mean, we're probably safe with the signatures, but if we don't have a million valid ones, none of this part matters anyway. That's why we have alternate plans of attack just in case others fail. So that's where my mind is at, but if I confuse people, here, I made a chart of Ross vision and how
Damn.
I see the campaign right now. That should
Is this a chart? Do we call this a chart?
hopefully
Oh, no.
clear it up. Now, some have asked, hey, since you're winding down your end of things on the campaign, can you pass the torch on this or let the community take over? Yeah, sure. You don't even have to wait on me, really. I actually have someone in mind who might be great to lead or help lead things in the future.
Pirate Software.
It's the same person who helped organize things to Contact TV station
Pirate Software.
and was talking about a possible watchdog group if the initiative did pass. So he's had good ideas. As for the community, I'm afraid I don't have a solid plan for that as of yet, other than it's being sorted out. A lot of people are helping with that. Yeah, in fact, I'm not even in direct control of the website, so it may be outdated for a few days while the person who does maintain it is working on it. Now, I am pessimistic on how much we can do beyond the action we've already put into play, but I'm
Okay.
of course in favor of people continuing stop killing games related things if they want. Speaking of related things, I've received a lot of questions about the current Steam and itch censorship going on right now. I am not an expert on that, but I can talk about how it relates to us. I have some good news and some bad news, and I think some more good news. The good news is if a storefront removed your game and gave you no ability to back it up and continue running it without further support, then that is exactly the situation Stop Killing Games is trying to address. We've been mostly focused on
Nice.
games that have the online dependency built into the game, but if a store gave you no notice before removing your game, then yeah, it's the same problem, just a different flavor. The game you paid for was taken from you. Now, stores could still remove access to games you paid for.
You getting to keep the thing that you paid for? I already can feel Pirate Software somewhere seating in his ferret pursuit.
But they would have to give you 30 days notice or something, and the ability to back it up and keep running the game before something like that would be okay. So while we can't address this situation now, because again, government moves really slowly, what we're doing could partially protect against situations like this in the future. Now, the bad news is Stop Killing Games would do nothing to prevent companies from delisting games. That's because to solve that, you'd have to create law mandating stores keep selling games. That seems unreasonable and unrealistic.
Yep. True.
We're also not addressing Visa, MasterCard,
Kinda sad, but true.
and PayPal's grip on entire world commerce, because that sounds like a way, way bigger scope than anything I could ever deal with. One of the reasons Stop Killing Games has made it so far is because there are gaps in the law on the issue of game destruction. We're shining a flashlight on a practice that may already be illegal. I can't even imagine where you would start with trying to rein in payment processors. That said, this censorship
I mean, technically it wouldn't be that hard, but I mean, the pushback against it would be absolutely ginormous. And the easy thing is, hey, you're a payment processor. You are offering a thing that helps people do payment processing. You're not a moral arbiter of truth. You don't get to decide what's right or wrong in this world on your own. We already have laws that say all the things that are good and are bad, okay? But you kind of want to take it a step further, which is not going to be allowed.
Problem has gotten a lot of attention. So hopefully smarter and more experienced people than myself know how to push back against this. But even if they don't, I think this is a problem that will solve itself over time. That's because both players and publishers want to buy and sell the games that are being censored. So that means there's real market pressure to find a solution. In fact, I bet there's a startup frantically trying to fill the gap that credit card companies are leaving them right now because there's so much money being left on the table for them.
The problem with that startup is the fact that there's probably going to be a worldwide government that does not want to allow this because they don't want competition for their already established little slave boys like Visa, Mastercard, and PayPal.
If you bet on companies wanting to make lots of money, you're rarely disappointed. I also think this situation points out how hollow the alternative solutions you sometimes see suggested are, like clear labeling or voting with your wallet. In both cases, those do not save the games you want to keep. It's the same for censored games also. Voting with your wallet only helps if the game is allowed to exist in the first place.
True.
So, Stop Killing Games would only help with part of this censorship situation in the future, but it's certainly compatible with people trying to do more. Okay, speaking of the future, I think what we've done with Stop Killing Games has actually changed the timeline, or is attempting to. As someone who's been at ground zero on this, I thought it might be fun to compare what would still be happening if the movement had never happened. First, let's look at the battle plans. How many of these would still be happening without us? Oh, yeah, nothing. None of this would be happening. Stop Killing Games is taking credit for getting all of this rolling. If you don't believe me, I encourage you to look at any news related to saving your games prior to January 2024. I feel certain without us, the crew would have been just another shutdown, like Darkspore, Battleforge, PlanetSide, Asheron's Call, Dust 514. I mean, if any game was going to get people
Is PlanetSide actually shut down? I thought people are still playing it.
motivated, I would think it would be Overwatch. It sold over 50 million copies, was destroyed, and people just accepted it, best I can tell. I think it didn't.
Yeah, but that's because they're Blizzard slop fans. And was new slop, so people were very accepting. Not even trying to protect us, but I mean it's a Blizzard product. Most people are completely jaded. Well, not jaded, I guess. Black-pilled should be the real term here. When it comes to Blizzard, you're buying slop. When it comes to Blizzard, you're wasting your time. When it comes to Blizzard, expect the worst. Buy it with literally the expectancies that Blizzard is just gonna ruin everything in a matter of 3 seconds before you even press the buy button.
Have the same legal openings that the crew did, but there wasn't an upswell that led to any big action that I'm aware of. I think if we hadn't acted when we did, then game destruction would just continue as usual, the same way it did in 2023, 2022, and so on. I really believe this movement was our only chance on this. Oh, sure, there would be other game shutdowns, but then people would just accept them too, like there's some sort of law of nature. Hell, some still do. You know, I never expected a Penny Arcade comic on this, but I love the write-up underneath it. What we've been conditioned to believe is normal simply isn't. The purpose of the campaign is to give you what you already own. It's a bizarre state of affairs. The part about conditioning is so true. From my perspective, it's felt like lots of gamers have gotten brainwashed on this over the years. I really feel like we're defying the odds by getting people to wake up. So what didn't we change related to game ownership? Well, there's a few things. That bill in California doubling down and saying you own nothing, but that there should be clear labels about you owning nothing would still have passed. That was mostly from...
Wait, did that not pass? I thought it passed.
Sony pulling movies off its platform, not us. The court case against Ubisoft in the US might still have gone through. It depends on how motivated the plaintiffs were by the movement or not. I unfortunately think that case has no chance of stopping the practice of game destruction, but we weren't behind that one. Server emulator attempts on The Crew would still be happening without us, thankfully. The US Copyright Office would still have rejected the Video Game History Foundation's attempt to get extremely meager exemptions to the DMCA. And yeah, I think that's about it. We can take credit for pretty much everything else related to pushing back against game destruction from 2024 onward. Unless you think that Concord is the spark that would have rallied everyone to push back.
Concord definitely rallied me to push back against some things.
Or hey, Anthem, that too.
Based.
So yeah, we're on a different timeline now. It feels weird. Okay, and here's the part nobody is going to like. I have been exhausted almost every day for over a month now. This is what I'm looking like almost all the time now when I'm not on camera. I know a lot of people found out about Stop Killing Games just recently, but I've been going at it hard for—
Yeah, well, we kind of know this. Obviously, Ross spoke about how much he actually has to work. Sometimes less, sometimes more, sometimes a full 24 hours, sometimes, well, 0 hours. It kind of depends on what's happening. At the end, it only matters that, well, it did happen. All of this did go through, and this is an amazing result that most people obviously did not expect to be reachable. Which, again, is going to be kind of questionable. How, because you need to understand, we complain about government overreaches and things like that, which are obviously true. We all know it. But at the same time, there are actually things that allow us to fight against it that are inbuilt in that. But no one just knows about it. This is like one of the rare few things where, oh wait, we actually have a way to fight it back against something here. And people did it. Which is kind of dangerous for the governments with overreach. So we will not know how this ends. Anyway, that was Ross from Accursed Farms. 10 out of 10. Bye.